The Saints have a cheat code that right now can take down any final boss in the NFL. We're going to break it down. I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. Yeah, there's definitely a cheat code in the NFL. Sorry, definitely want to keep that up there for another day. Um, that the Saints are using. The formula is fairly simple, but yet not really. So let's talk about that for a second. We'll run the review on the Cowboys game for the final time. Cheat code is actually it's kind of a simple formula. It starts with both sides of the ball, and even to a degree special teams, because we've seemed to have gotten a whole lot better there too. This first two games compared to the last couple of seasons. Um, it's coaches putting players in positions to succeed. Sounds simple, not easy to do. And their coaches are trusting, hey, we're going to get you in the right spots. We're going to get you in the right schemes. We're going to get in the right play calls. We're going to do all that stuff. And we're trusting you. Go make the play. And the players so far in two games have been rewarding that trust, going, hey, they were right. They are putting us in position. Let's go make some plays. And some of the stuff that has plagued the Saints in past years kind of starts getting cleaned up along the way, it seems like. Defense isn't missing as many tackles in two games. Knock on wood. If that continues, look out. We're not dropping passes. We're not committing, especially in the Dallas game. A little bit in Carolina, but cleaned up a lot in the Dallas game. Not committing stupid penalties. Um, not taking ourselves completely out of drives, or not extending drives for the other team once we actually had them stopped and we're about to get off the field. Because we've got them in the right position. They don't necessarily have to do stupid things, because I think sometimes that's what it was, in desperation to make a play. They got dumb. Well, we're making it easier for them because we're getting them in the right spots to do what they need to do. The second part of this cheat code is great decision making is just coming through. Um, I still hadn't gotten a chance to really look much through the Carolina game because of everything going on last week. But having yesterday to really look at some stuff in the Dallas game, scheme wise, Coob on offense, DA slash Joe Woods on defense, kind of did what we wanted to do when we needed to do it, or we could put them in positions, even if we couldn't take away what they wanted to do. We could put them in positions where they kind of had to still do some stuff they didn't want to do. Either way, you're kind of dictating to them on both sides of the ball pretty much the whole game the way it's going to go. And that's how you get a 44-19 score. You do it for four quarters. A lot of times it seems the first 2 weeks at least, you do it for three. The fourth quarter just kind of takes care of itself because referees, players on the other team, even, some of our guys, it's like, okay, let's call it a day at this point because this game's done. But that decision making, especially game day, has been really, really good. Coming from either the booth or the sideline, whoever's calling, think Kuba's on the sideline again for this one. Doesn't really matter. DA's on the sideline. Joe Woods, obviously has a big part of coordinating this defense, which you don't often see. Think of all the years Sean was the head coach, de facto offensive coordinator, with Pete Carmichael as the actual offensive coordinator. Enough said about how much free reign the coach was given. I think DA gives Joe Woods a lot of reign. I think takes a lot off his plate, but ultimately he's always been a good coordinator. He's always been a good defensive coach, and it shows because we'll talk about the defense a little later, but the summation is they were he didn't eliminate everything that Dallas could do, but he was forcing them to do some stuff they really didn't want to do, but that was kind of the best option they had on the table. Put your players in a position to succeed, trust them. Players reward that trust by going ahead and do it. And then during the course of the game. Anytime you've got to make adjustments or do that too, get the players back in a position to succeed, they're going to reward your trust again, going, wow, this is a lot better than it was the last couple of years. Um, and ultimately, that leads to, I think, the biggest thing that you can get on a cheat code. We saw this happen to us, especially last year. I'm going to bring up again, once again, the two greatest examples with Detroit and the Rams games. Play fast and play physical and do it from the jump. In both those games, they did it to us, and we never really got back in it. Well, first two games this year, we did it to the other team. We came out hot. We were playing fast. We were playing physical. And as the game wore on, either we started getting faster and more physical, or they were getting slower and less physical, likely a combination of both. And you could see it. I'm watching the game with brother-in-law. We could just, as the game progressed, just, man, it's there's some guys, I don't want to say they're giving up, but it was more like they were wearing out physically, mentally. I think Dallas, for the most part, for most of the game, even in that third quarter, was still trying to play hard. But after a while, that what the Saints were able to do in the first half, offensively on those 6 drives, and the way they could frustrate, other than one big play, that was one of our few actual mistakes the whole game, frustrate them offensively, where they could move the ball a little bit, and all of a sudden we are stonewalling them. They got to run Aubrey out for a field goal. Physically, mentally, everything. After a while, we know teams were doing it to us the last couple of years, and it just winds down. And even your best players are out there. And again, I want to emphasize they're still trying hard, but collectively, it's just getting too difficult for your great players to overcome. Hell, back in some of the rough years with our Hall of Fame quarterback, he was still playing hard, but you could see where it would start to wear him down a little bit in the game. You could maybe, if you were the defense, get him thinking a little bit. Ball's not coming out as fast. A little less accurate. That happened to Drew. That happened to Dak Sunday. Looked really good. Those first couple of drives really looks like, hey, he's going to be on it today. Just wore it down, wore him out. So my cheat code right now, because after 2 weeks of watching not every play of every game, but getting some red zone in, watch most of the game last night, you see a lot of teams that they're not coming out hot. They're not playing fast and physical the whole game. It's a lot of mistakes, a lot of bad decisions popping up. And I'll end my cheat code assessment of why it's working with something that has been mentioned. Derek Carr talked about it Sunday after the game. Other players have talked about it. I don't know specifically, like within the last 2 days, but over the course of the offseason, they all said, wow, this was a tough offseason. Derek Carr even said at one point the other day, going, look, there were times we were pissed off at DA. It's like, oh man, we're in pads again and we're going 2 hours, whatever. But as he said, that's part of it. You got to do it. It's got to be hard. And I always felt like the last couple of off seasons, even the last few Sean was here, I don't want to say it was a picnic, but it wasn't hard like this. I think if you look around the NFL, there's a lot of teams this is basically the first couple of weeks of the season, and this is how I felt about our seasons last couple of years. Almost like weeks 1 through 3 or 4. That's their preseason. They just totally blow off preseason games. A lot of training camp, they don't get work. Because think about how many guys we used to rest constantly the last couple of training camp. This year, there were a few veteran day offs here and there for a few veterans, but mostly, if you could go, you went. And even if you were slightly injured and you could go a little bit, you went a little bit and just kept working them hard. And I think the teams in the past few seasons that came out hot, and this year, the Saints, and there are a couple other teams that are going to come out hot, so they got the work in when they needed to get the work in. They're not doing it during the season. They did it during the preseason. So eventually, this cheat code is not going to work like it's been working because teams will get themselves into a season shape They will get better. Um, and then we won't talk about the other stuff of attrition that can happen. But for right now, you're coming out hot in a tough part of your schedule. And if you can stay hot, if you can keep this cheat code working all the way through Kansas City, which I said the other night was a Thursday night game, it's a Monday night game, my bad. But through that Monday night game and keep getting these hot starts, play fast, play physical. This team has talent. It always has. Well, that talent can now has the ability to stand up to anybody or anything that gets thrown at them early in the season. We just did not have that ability the last few years. It's refreshing to see it now. I like the new stance. I like what they're doing. And I hope we can keep it going as long as we can. But this is what I feel confident in. As teams get a little better and they get more film, and they start figuring stuff out. That first part, coaches putting players in positions to make plays, to win, to succeed. There's no doubt in my mind they can adjust. They may have to change the cheat code a little bit. They may have to play with the numbers and the letters and the backslashes and all that. But I feel like they'll move it around and we'll still be good going forward. This hot start can give us some momentum that even when those times get a little rough, we can just power through it and keep going. Got to keep it all together. And more importantly, got to keep our heads grounded because I'm hearing a lot of talk about how great the Saints are. They're very good right now. Great comes later in the season. But I think with this formula, the way they started off, and you keep doing the work, you can get to that great we all want to see. We all want this organization back in its glory days. And we're going to start off with the offense. The cheat code there, pick your poison, but I'm going with DC4 backslash Coob backslash AK41. Yeah, it's really the three ingredients going on right now in that offense, but everybody else is contributing. And I do mean everybody else that steps on that field on offense. What I really want to talk about is the start of basically Coob in the game plan. And like we talked about in the video Saturday that brought out all the Cowboys fans that thought it was bunk. This was the guy. This is a guy Coob had to handle. Um, Insanely good edge player, one of the best in the NFL. But I tell you what, Dallas at times in the past, and I'm sure Zimmer's doing it this year, although I didn't see much of it Sunday, they could pull him off that edge, play him at an off the ball linebacker in the middle or the outside, use him creatively there, and he's as good as almost any linebacker in the league. He's going to be in the top 10%. I guarantee you that. That would be his full time position, you can do so much with him. Apparently, in the Cleveland game, which I didn't see much of, that's what he did. And he's the guy that when he's playing his best, much like Chase Young did for us Sunday against the Cowboys, even when you're taking care of him, if you're not careful, he can still be disruptive enough that is creating some chaos where other guys can step in and make plays. And they have some pretty good other guys behind him. This was always my concern about the defense and was about handling him. And he was not a problem because I tell you what I really broke down in this game, rewatching it, was the first 6 drives we had, the 6 touchdown drives in a row, and how we handled him. And got a little drive chart on that. We'll kind of break it down, and it's going to take a little while because it's 40-something plays, but I think it's worth it because when I saw this is the reason Sunday night, Who Dat Confessional had threw this up on Twitter. It's apparently Parsons in postgame was talking about how creative Kubiak got with him. And it wasn't always a lineman. They were throwing, as he said, the chip. They'd send a chipper. They had a lineman. They had running backs. They had cut blocks coming at him, all kind of stuff. But it was the last line. It's like he said, so, I was going through a maze almost. I thought that was creative. And there's 2 things that kind of, in those 2 sentences, I was going through a maze almost. Well, I mean, think about it. You go through a maze. What are you doing? You're moving slow and you're thinking. Wow. When you can get this guy moving slow and thinking, and then he adds it with, thought it was creative, which tells me, man, I was seeing a lot of stuff. Not only I wasn't expected to necessarily see, but possibly so creative. I may never have seen it before in my my really good, even though young NFL career. On. That's cheat code when you've got an OC that can do some of the stuff that was going on in that game. At him, we'll run it down real quick, but he was creative. It was I saw some stuff that I didn't really see during the game. Some of it I did, but going, wow, man, he's not kidding. That is massively creative. So we'll go through that. I'll have a little video on some of the plays, but unfortunately can't get enough. So I'll try to give you the high points of what went down and how we handled Parsons on those drives. Be back in a sec. So, like I said, I basically broke down those first 6 drives. So we're gonna try to run through it as quick as I can, so I can get to the videos of about 6 plays here. Um, and really, the first play of the game was Parsons' only true win that I would put it at out of these 6 drives because he fought through a pinning Moreau double team and he made the tackle on Kamara for a 1-yard gain. That was a wide zone right. He was lined up on the left side. Next play, they immediately moved him to the right side, and this is where the chess match kind of started because we ran a fake of wide zone right again from the jump. Now, I don't know if this was by design because you will see edge players do what he did, which was pinch all the way down the line, defensive line, not even worry about contain. Sometimes they do that because they will give contain to linebacker or secondary who's supposed to come up and do it. But regardless, he came in. Fuaga went, you go in the wrong direction, and I'm good with that. It just kind of sealed him in there. So when the reverse from Shaheed came, he turned the corner. Parsons is now behind the play. He's got to turn around. He's chasing it. And he would have went for a very big play, if not, which leads me to believe it very well could have been Parsons did not have that outside contain because somebody did come up from either the mid or the back end levels. Phil did real hard, did make the tackle, but kind of helped string the play out enough where everybody, including Parsons, because he came back in at the end of the play, just wasn't involved in the tackle. Everybody kind of catch up and held it to only a 7-yard gain, but it put us in 3rd and short. The reason why I'm talking about that one so much, that was the first point of kind of slowing down edge guys from doing stuff like that, and may have even forced the Cowboys to go, well, we might have to keep our edge guys on the edge a little more because of that misdirection possibility. We sell out. We're giving them chunk yardage plays, and they have the guys to take advantage of that. And it still showed itself later in the game. But from there on, it was, bit on a run fake. Fuaga pinned him in. That was on the reverse. On the pass to on the very next play, Kamara, they don't even block him. They let him come clean. Kamara cuts him. Boom. Ball comes out. He's a non-factor. He loses on a double team to pinning and Moreau in the next play. On a pass rush, Fuaga just washed him out of the rush lane and made him go wide. By the time he came all the way back around the car, ball was gone. And we get the video clip number 1 right now. And let's go ahead and take a look at that. And right now, and it's about to pop up on your screen, we use motion, and we used an awful lot of motion, and a lot of that motion did have effects on the defensive line. But the motion is Moreau coming down to the bottom of the screen, and that's where Parsons is. But we used Juwan Johnson and Moreau in a double team on him to push him to the inside, and everybody else is locked up on that defensive line. And you want to talk about making good decisions. Look, Carr had the checkdowns, and he had all day really to kind of throw this ball. He takes a shot at the very end, but he possibly could have waited put the ball on Kamara on the break or Johnson, both relatively easy throws, and we would gain some yards either way. But talk about making an elite decision and a great throw. So he's looking downfield the whole time, waiting for Olave to break it across. And I mean, look, elite decisions. You got good play. The scheme, even using our 2 tight ends to handle their best pass rusher, worked. Put everybody in a position to make it work. You get the big play, and you set up the the next video clip, because on the very next play, um, and this was so great by Penny. That was a pancake. But on that play, that was one where Parsons is lined up very wide, very much behind the play, and he's chasing it down from the backside and never really gets close to doing anything, kind of gets caught in the wash at the very end. So 2 plays in a row just effectively took him out and hit a big play and then score right after. On the second drive, touchdown drive, another one I love. Here we go with Prentice in motion now. And we were basically showing a lot like the play in Carolina that I broke down. We were rolling out there in our 21 personnel because we had the fullback with Kamara, lining up in a 12. This time we're motioning um, one guy down the line pre-snap because they were both lined up on the offensive right. And then after the snap, Moreau came down and is helping out. And once again, we're double teaming an edge with our 2 tight ends. We basically have a 2-man route at this point. We've got everything blocked up on the right side. Right now, Penning has Parsons. Parsons ain't going anywhere. And as Williams was coming out, he's going to be the check down on this because right now it's only a 2-man route with our 2 receivers. He's going to come out as a check down and it would work. But on his way out, he chips. He doesn't chip Parsons. He gets very close to him, and whoever the next guy was trying to come around Parsons, got a little shot on him and slowed him down, and he's going in the check down. But once again, and this is the one where Carr was pre-snap expecting to hit Olave on the cross, but he makes an elite decision and a great throw when he realizes Rashid Shaheed's elite speed and elite ball tracking ability has split the safeties for a one-play 70-yard touchdown. Now, all of a sudden, Dallas has a problem. They had 2 safeties back there. That shouldn't have happened. That throw never should have happened. You're basically almost thrown into double coverage with 2 deep safeties from the time that Carr has to make the decision to launch the ball. And he said in his post game, I was thinking I was going to Olave the whole time if I had him, and I think he had him early in the round. But he said I peaked and was amazed at how far downfield Shaheed was, and said we've got a shot, and he decides to take it. And you get one huge play out of it. So elite decision makings. Your quarterback made one there, follows it up with a really good throw to a guy who's just blows past 2 players that are totally helpless, gets hit in stride. And part of that is he does have a very good ability to adjust to the ball where he can get to it without breaking stride and almost in stride with that little burst that very few players like him has. So as he's catching the ball, then he starts accelerating and it's over and done. You are not catching him. It's a cheat code. I mean, this is stuff that we weren't expecting as an offense. That's why I'm spending a lot of time to talk about the offense and breaking down some plays. Is we weren't expecting to see this. We were expecting it from the defense to a certain degree. I don't know this much. But once again, when we start on the next touchdown drive, we're going to take Parsons out. And we're going to gain 3 yards because Moreau comes across the formation. Parsons coming off thinking he's unblocked, but Moreau's coming across the formation, picks him up and blocks him. By the way, at some point in this, if you rewatch, he starts getting real chirpy with Moreau, and you're going to hear a lot from Moreau, and I can understand why one of the elite defenders in the league is just getting upset that the blocking tight end, I don't know, keeps effectively blocking him. Next one was they actually called it a run, but it was a little quick flip to Olave right past Parsons. Catch it, get rid of it quick. Olave caught it, got it field. So just one of the quick passes, we did that quite often to take rushers out. We did it there. He was a non-factor. Kamara goes for 3 when pitting Moreau on a double team. This time they keep Parsons out to play. And we all know what happened here. In this one, Parsons was not really a factor because this is screen call, beautiful play call by Kubiak because they wanted to come bad. They came, we let them in. We had two blockers out there and had to throw this one. A next gen stat hit Ruiz 17.2 miles per hour up until unless somebody beat it last in Sunday night or Monday night's game. By the time I saw this, no NFL lineman, offensive lineman, tackle guard center has had more than 17 mile per hour on a downfield run. And now that you mention it, and I saw that, I was like, man, he's keeping up. And there's an elite decision from our Ivy League wide receiver, undrafted rookie. Gives him one of these, throws up the arms, just gets in his way. He knows he's going to get bumped. If it's a bump like that was, the defender was like, yeah, I got no shot. Let me try to make it look good. But every now and then when you try to do that, especially if you're an undrafted rookie and a veteran safety comes up, they might lay the lumber on you. So you're giving yourself up for the possibility somebody could really take a shot at you just because they're frustrated because Kamara just housed a screen pass almost 60 yards. But it's the right thing to do. You can't take for granted and start celebrating like we saw Jonathan Abram do on Pakua Nua. Sorry. He plays for the Rams. The brother that we had, Samson, on the missed field goal return, Abrams starts celebrating right about this point inside the 5, and one guy comes blazing in there, is able to push him out of bounds before he can get into the end zone to score. So it's a very teachable moment there, I'm sure, for the rest of the team when they saw that and go, no, like you don't have to hit him. That's like Ruiz running down the field being just behind Kamara. I don't have to hit him. Just give them something that they have to go through or around. Because if they're going through you or around you, they're not going to catch Alvin. And Ruiz, that's like a battleship protecting you six back there, as big as he is and as fast as he's moving right there. So, really, two elite decisions because Ruiz could have just packed it in and said, nope, I'm a lineman, man. I'm not going downfield. Showed a burst, kept it. And he had Alvin's back door, and Mason Tipton made sure nobody was going to come in with a miraculous play at the very end of it. That's the kind of effort, decision making you have to have on every play to be able to rack up two NFL teams consecutive weeks, one of them a very good team on the road. This is the kind of stuff. This is the cheat code kind of stuff you have to get. We weren't getting it, and we've been pretty solidly getting it the last two games. Um, After that, it starts getting real interesting on Parsons because now you're starting to get into the section of our program after that touchdown starts or he's getting taken out or taking himself out. I don't know which way. You're getting to see him on the sideline. You're getting Tom Brady comments like, oh, that's where you want to see Parsons is on the sideline. But as it progressed down the game in these drives through the end of the second and into the third, you really started seeing some interesting stuff coming at him. Like on an incompletion that Carr had to take because everybody's covered. Parsons was not the guy bringing the pressure on that one because when he came off and trying to get to the backside, he was getting there late. Prentice and then Patrick both were kind of getting a piece of him. So it was one of those where it was one of the rollouts Carr to the right. He was on the offensive left coming around that way. So Fuaga had him checked up. He gets loose from there coming in. Patrick gives him a shot, and then for good measure, Prentice was in the backfield, gives him a shot. It almost looked like three pit bulls fighting over a chew toy there for a second. The way they all kind of bam, bam, bam. He wasn't running down that play or going to be a factor in it from behind. That maze he's talking about, I'm starting to see how many times we had somebody with an eye on him that even though they like Prentice and Patrick weren't the primary blocking responsibility, they're still like pow. Moreau gets him again. Do some play action bootleg where we didn't even bother to block him because he couldn't get into the play. We did that a couple of times. He gets stonewalled by Juwan Johnson on First and 10 from Dallas's 23. Jamal Williams, that was his 8-yard run on a wide zone left. He had Juwan Johnson on him, just stonewalls him where he couldn't get around him. You get a block from Moreau on Williams' next 3-yard run. They tried to run a screen. That was the one Alvin dropped. He was unblocked again. Didn't care because we were running a screen and they had all blew by the offensive line basically. And yeah, here we go. One of my fun ones. He is locked up, and what again effort and stuff going on downfield. Fuaga locks up Parsons on that wide zone left. He went outside, and that was another case of Fuaga's going, "Oh, you want to go that way? Let me just help you along." Takes him out the play, and he can't get back into it in enough time. Kind of creates that space to go through. Second part of that, when you back it up a little bit, Overshawn, one of their linebackers, and he's primarily the kind of smaller, faster guy that they use in passing type situations, was on the field. And I think that was just a little bit of, man, we're getting beat up on the wide zone. Let's get some speed out there. Lucas Patrick got out there quick on him and locked him up and just gave him a real nice shot to get him out the way. And downfield blocking the receivers, Juwan Johnson on the backside, they were all getting down there and getting in people's way. Look, it wasn't dominating blocks from that group. They weren't slamming people to the ground, but they were locking guys up. Look, you either got to go through me or go around me. And again, once you go through me or you go around me, it doesn't matter. You're not getting close to Alvin. Period. End of story. There's a touchdown. And it continued to the point where that third quarter drive, we were leaving one-on-one. We were no longer sending the maze and putting him in the maze. Moreau was locking him up and getting a win. Fuaga pinning wherever they put him, one-on-one, getting Stonewall. It's another stretch where he came out the game for a couple plays. And I think that was the one where you're watching him get visibly frustrated on the sideline, which made me like, God, you can't blame him. And I think this was the he was on leading up to that last touchdown on that third quarter drive where we burned a whole lot of clock and took a long time doing it. He got nailed by Ruiz, César Ruiz, who was pulling on a run. Another wide zone left run. Well, Ruiz was actually pulling around this time and got a shot on him. Moreau blocks him. He lined up one play where they split him way out wide, like a wide 9 look, and he was so far out the play we ran in the opposite direction and never got into it. He on a bootleg, stonewall by Fuaga. Then Patrick got a piece of him again, and then Jamal Williams chipped him in the backfield, and it was another one that looked like a pit bull, 3 pit bulls fighting over a chew toy. The way they were just all kind of getting a pretty good lick on him. Ran a jet sweep away from him. Again, he was lined up wide and couldn't even remotely get close to the play. The play before the touchdown, it was the one incomplete to Tyreek Hill. Taysom Hill. Wrong T Hill. That the interference was called on him. And that was another one where looks like he was more trying to go an outside move and run around Fuaga. Fuaga just, hey, you want to go that way? Go that way. Had him locked up. By the time he gets anywhere near Carr's already gotten rid of the ball, which this was the very next play. And you have to watch Fuaga. I tell you what, I'm going to back that up again because just to make sure you have enough time, pick up Fuaga on the left-hand side. I don't know if everybody caught this. I hadn't seen a lot on Twitter yet, but right there, he's pancaking Parsons. Parsons is on his back. Fuaga's on top of him. There was a replay during the game from probably that cameraman that's standing right in front of Alvin right now, about ready to throw the camera in his face. That when they showed that angle a little later, his brother-in-law sitting next to him. He goes, "Oh my God, Fuaga just pancaked Parsons," which he did. Saw it and was like, "Wow." I couldn't find that angle. I wish I could, because you could have framed it up nicely to watch what happened. But you get the gist of it on the end of that. That drive, that touchdown run, Fuaga, just the rookie, doing a very good job all game. Suddenly, just pancakes and lays on top of your best all pro. You know, this guy has any type of length on his career, he's probably going to wind up in the Hall of Fame. He's that good. Our rookie just planted him. I mean, that's the proverbial popping of the balloon, isn't it? That's kind of the last bit of air you think at that point that's coming out. Throughout all this, we're playing fast and playing physical everywhere. Guys running down the field, playing fast, playing physical. It's a cheat code. It's a cheat code on offense. I'm not going to spend as much time talking about the cheat code on defense, but it was there. And we'll come back in a second and get to that. So, I mean, the cheat code on offense was kind of, said DC4 /Coob /AK481. It's a guy that's got to make a lot of decisions on the front end after the snap. The player the scheme fits the most, and you can see the way we've used him in the first 2 weeks. Kamara is like Christian McCaffrey in that running game in Frisco, or A-Chain and Mostert is in Miami. It makes everything go, and then everybody else can play fast, physical, and a lot of times do whatever they want after that, based off what you're getting from him. Coop's guy kind of slaps it all together. But when you're looking at it, gets a little more complicated, yet easy to get the code, because it's kind of DA /JW. It's two guys putting it all together. I don't really know much about what they were doing in Carolina. I think that was just kind of basic, because they were just kind of looking at, hey, look, we harass Bryce Young. We cover some receivers we really should cover. We'll be fine. I don't think they got too exotic. But they got a little more exotic against Dallas. And the thing was, you got great play at every level on that defense. Now, the usual suspects were there. Granderson and Young were doing a great job on the outside. Granderson gets stat grabs because Young was kind of their focus. But unlike Dallas, with their top guy, Parsons couldn't spring loose enough of those other guys the way we handled him. They handled Young pretty good. I mean, he didn't have massive stats, but if you're watching the game, he was still disruptive. Granderson benefited from that. Brazil a couple of times able to really get some space in the middle to get a pass rush, how to force fumble and have a sack. Mid-level, I didn't see much of Willie Gay going on in that game, but Werner was pretty solid. But DeMario was DeMario, and he's flying around and making plays. And later in that game, a key adjustment we made is when they were trying that little easy, let's get Dak going and the offense going, little flip pass play to that tight end Shoemaker, who I think we weren't through any coverage early in the game because nobody knew about the guy. It wasn't Ferguson. But I think we decided to pull out the play where, we'd have used if Ferguson would have been healthy at tight end. Well, all of a sudden, double D's on that guy. He catches the ball, gets chucked hard. DeMario lit him up for short gain, no gain, doesn't matter. Kind of slowed that stuff down after that, because I think all of a sudden the young guy, because I think Shoemaker's second-year guy that barely played last year, you didn't really hear much from him after that. And it's kind of like, hey, might have been head on a swivel a lot when they were trying to get him in the routes and just couldn't get him the ball anymore. But stuff like that, those little adjustments. The defensive backfield played tremendous. One boo-boo, like I said, on the CD Lamb thing. Honey Badger said after the game, he talked to Debo, and he was like, yeah, no, that can't ever happen again. We were both there. One of us has to make the play. There was a little discussion, and I'm sure there was more later on about, look, we're playing as well we played that day. That was the only touchdown. We handed it to him because we mishandled what to do after the catch. an overrun, a slip, whatever was going on there. One of us, we had two guys there to make the play. Neither one could make the tackle, and Lamb ends up housing it. So that's really the one blemish. Outside of that, Honey Badger, Harris, McKinstry, they were coming up and hitting people in the run and making plays. They were making plays in the passing game. Badger gets the sack. McKinstry just on that pass breakup he had in the end zone to take another touchdown away from CeeDee Lamb. That's an amazing play for a corner fighting about because, again, much like Michael Parsons, even though he didn't necessarily show it in this game, CeeDee Lamb is an elite receiver and a very good one. And our rookie fought him tooth and nail all the way down that sideline. The ball comes in and is still fighting him and is able to rip it out of there and make sure he can't catch it. And then a good measure, completely clean and legal hit. But Harris gets over there and gets to put a remember me shot on him. And I don't think we saw her too much from CeeDee Lamb after that big hit. Up and down. So it's easy, I think, because the defense always had this in them. But I think with the complimentary football you get from the offense, and let's not forget special teams. The one time we really need to lean on our punter, he nails a 49-yarder, pins him back inside I think it was a 15. Flips the field, pins it back just like we need. Where we have a head coach that was a great DC. It looks like in Woods was a DC in previous stops. They're scheming up. They're able to kind of make some adjustments when they need to, but right now they've got everybody playing fast and physical and playing well and making plays at all three levels. And we knew we had talent at all three levels. That goes a long way. When an offense is constantly thinking about, man, we've got to figure out a way to beat Chase Young. Man, we've got to figure out a way to beat Demario Davis. Oh, holy crap. Look at the corners they got on the back end. You got Honey Badger floating around there, and this Will Harris guy who's played everywhere on Detroit's secondary for the last 4 or 5 years. Suddenly, they're just sticking him in the middle of the defense and kind of unleashing him, telling him, hey, go knock the crap out of somebody, if nothing else. He's always been a good tackler and that kind of run guy, but it's like, hey, go lay some wood on somebody. It's kind of a fight through. And by comparison, they were talking about how good Dallas' defense, and we took out their best player. And all of a sudden, their linebackers weren't making an appearance. Kendricks is a good linebacker. All of a sudden, he's not really doing much. Diggs talked a lot of smack about Olave not being a receiver before. Well, he didn't really make an appearance into anything important during this game. Their safeties are all a lot like Will Harris. They have some very good, solid veteran safeties back there in Hooker and Wilson and a young guy in Bell coming up. They hit people. They move around. They're normally pretty decent in coverage, but they can't stop Shaheed from splitting them for a 70-yard touchdown. On the other hand, when their offense is rolling out, again, got to beat Young. Oh, we got to beat Young and Granderson. Oh, now we got to beat, we're handling Young. Now we got to beat Granderson and Brzee. Oh, then we got to deal with Demario Davis. Oh, and that Warner guy is not exactly lighting it up, but he's not making any mistakes and giving up big plays. He's solid and he's tackling. And we can get through that level. Again, McKinstry, Paulson, and Debo were elite. Alante Taylor, yes, he definitely has that nickel slot down. And you want to talk about somebody playing fast and physical. That is sometimes it takes me a second to realize it's number one. He's moving so fast, these bad eyes can't focus fast enough. And he's running around there. And they didn't really have to use him in the pressure blitz game. They used him effectively back there where he's clean. And think of the play where he got on the second drive, he got a tackle for loss, getting Brandon Cooks 3 yards in the backfield where it looked like Cooks was going to have a chance to turn the corner and get up the sideline. Taylor came flying in there and makes a great open field tackle for a TFL. That's the kind of playing fast, playing physical. I think two things have happened. First, the complimentary football went a long way to doing it. But second, the little additions we made here and there along this defense, we strengthened some of our weaknesses, I think. A lot more athletic than we seem to have been. We've cleaned up the tackling issue. knock on wood, so far. So we're not giving up any hidden extra yardage because we missed a tackle. And the game plan was, and I'm going to end it on this, and this is how I know we're getting a cheat code on defense, just like we're getting a cheat code on offense. DA all but admitted the plan was we were not going to be able to stop that offense from getting yards. So all we thought about was hold them the field goals. You know Aubrey's going to make it. But we score touchdowns. They score field goals. We're going to stay in the game, and we're going to eventually widen the gap, 44-19. So this was a, pretty much a joint effort. Pretty sure at a meeting at some point this week, DA and Joe Woods is telling Kubiak, look, you ain't getting a shutout from us. We'll hold them the field goals. You got to figure out a way to score touchdowns. And Kubiak was, hey, not a problem. Not a problem. We're going to throw up some points. That's a cheat code. It's a cheat code you can take on the road. You can take it on the road against good teams, like you did against Dallas. You can take it anywhere. You still have that cheat code this week with Philly coming in, even off that stinging Monday night loss. You've got more than enough ability to take them out. And Hall go 3-0 into a big game in Atlanta with a big game in Kansas City right behind them on Monday night. Man, just 2 weeks ago, I'm sweating this part of the schedule. And I'm not saying it's getting easy. But for 2 weeks in a row, coaches put players in position to make plays. Players rewarded that trust by making plays. We're making, for the most part, really good decisions, some elite decisions, especially in the Dallas game, because we dang sure eliminated the dumb ones. Gets us off to fast starts. Playing fast, playing faster, playing physical, playing more physical. Chunking in 3 quarters, 4 quarters, score a lot of points. Don't let the other team score a lot of points. We win the game. Hooray. Everybody goes home happy. So, look, I spent way more time on the offense than the defense, but it's not like I'm saying they're more important or I think they're just more the news right now because of all the things we didn't expect. We didn't expect that. Had we gotten mediocre offense, but still getting this elite level defense play, that wouldn't have surprised us. So probably in the next video when we're talking Philly, I have a feeling we're going to be talking probably a little more about our defense, kind of from what I saw last night. Speaking of which, that video will be to those of y'all in the comments going, hey, what's your prediction for Philly to make it official in case you missed my response? Never do a prediction before the final injury report is out because you're just asking for trouble there. And you need to do a little more research in it, but Friday night, Saturday morning, more likely should be seeing that video coming out. And we'll probably talk a lot about the Saints defense in that one. So if you're new here, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, share it to buddies, post in the comments down there. Northern Saint, Julius, Rex, all those guys, they'll be flying around in and out of there. So I think this probably puts the bow tie on the Dallas game for the most part. Time to move on to Philly. It's going to be a big one. We're going to have to rock out the dome and make sure dome field advantage is there because even though I will give you a prediction, I'm feeling a lot better about this one than I was this time last week about the Dallas game. So, till I see you next time, I'm Tim. Peace out. Who dat?